Well, there was the patriarch of the Church of Jerusalem, an 89-year-old gentleman. Many famous imams were on board. The retired colonel of the U.S. Army, Colonel Ann Wright, was on board as well. A former U.S. Marine, Ken O'Keefe, was on board. There were 3 German MPs on our ship, the Challenger 2, that transferred onto the Mavi Marmara. There was a famous German doctor, I don't remember his name, and a Norwegian MP, a Green Party MP, I believe. And on the Mavi, before we arrived, there was at least 34 nations represented. And I'd say when we arrived and joined the Mavi in the middle of the Mediterranean, there was probably another 6 or 7 nations. So we had well over 40 nations represented on the Mavi. It was amazing and quite the experience. We joined the Mavi at sea off of Cyprus. So what happened to us as we joined was we were quarantined immediately. Actually, first, as we stepped on board, we were frisked, had our bags taken away from us, and then we were quarantined, and our bags were searched quite thoroughly. I'm a marine engineer, so I had a pocket knife in my luggage, and they found that pocket knife and I guess pitched it over the side because they were adamant that no weapons were going to come onto that ship. So everyone's equipment was searched, and one of the film crews had some alcohol, and it went over the side as well. So they were very thorough in ensuring that nothing came on board with us. I understand the same treatment was given to everyone in Istanbul and in Turkey before they got onto the Mavi Marmara. I don't imagine it was the same treatment on all the smaller ships, but certainly what I witnessed on the Mavi was they were very thorough that no weapons were coming on board that ship. And I never saw any weapons other than a slingshot I saw in someone's hands before the Israeli assault, a very small child slingshot. So that was the sum total of the weapons that I saw, if you can call it a weapon, that came on board the Mavi. Well, I can start and finish with what I saw personally. I was in the stairwell where all the dead and wounded were being carried in, and I saw 2 dead Turkish aid workers with twin bullet holes in the sides of their heads. And I saw that, and I immediately, when I saw the first one, I thought that looks like an execution. And I thought that's really out there. That's too far. Whatever, maybe it's just a fluke. I saw a second body identical, 2 bullet holes to the side of the head, and I thought, well, that's too much. That's an execution. Someone out there, one of the Israeli soldiers, is executing people on the deck. But I didn't say anything because that's you have to have a lot of proof to say such a thing, and I didn't want to be well, I just couldn't believe it really, but I stored that away. When I arrived back in Victoria, that's when I heard that the Turkish authorities had proven that at least 4 of their 9 dead aid workers had been killed by gunshot to the head at close range. One close enough that there was powder burns. That was the 18-year-old gentleman, the American Turkish fellow, and the other 3 or 4 that were involved got shot at close range, and so that confirmed my beliefs, and so what I saw was, like I say, two of the Turkish aid workers in that horrible stairwell with twin bullet holes to the sides of their heads. I understand the Americans call it double clicking in Iraq, in the Iraq War. That was a way of finishing off an opponent. So, well, I mean, what else can you say? These 2 gentlemen that I saw had been wounded elsewhere in their body. So it would look to me, they got wounded on the deck, they fell down, curled up, and then someone walked up and finished them off as they were laying on their side, curled up. That's what it looked like to me. And then, like I say, the Turkish authorities have proof that that people were shot at close range. So, and I could go on and on and on. The Israelis wouldn't let us go to the washroom. I mean, it sounds petty, but I wasn't allowed to go to the washroom for 15 hours. Very little water, food. They gave us chocolate bars, and that was over me. It was a 25-hour period as I was locked down on the ship. with nothing but a chocolate bar and a sugar cookie every so often would come down the line. Everybody was sharing as much as they could. It was wonderful to see the camaraderie of the Turks and the Arabs and myself. Everyone shared. What water there was, they shared around. What chocolate bars there were, they shared around. But no, it was disgusting. Here's a quick little story that happened to me. I asked to go to the washroom once, then twice after 5 minutes, and after 15 minutes I asked a third time, thinking that maybe they didn't understand, didn't hear, or whatever. And the Israeli soldier walked over to me and he told me, "You're being a bother, you're asking too many times." And he grabbed the tie straps on my wrist and yanked them up, so it raised my hands up over my head and zipped up the tie wrap cuffs on my hands so tight that my hands swelled up and went numb. I'd still got a numb spot on the back of my right hand from this. I guess it's permanent now. And my hands swelled up and turned color. Because I asked to go to the bathroom too many times. What they wanted me to beg and grovel to go to the bathroom. I've heard about this at checkpoints in Palestine. You had to beg to go to the bathroom, had to beg for water. So I got the same treatment. I guess I'm sort of proud that they considered me such a threat that they treated me like a Palestinian. I guess it should be I feel like it's a badge of honor. My numb spot will be something that I'll always remember them by. But just disgusting. Anyways, what can you? But to complain about, they stole all my money, $4,000. It's gone. All my Visa and MasterCard, all my ID is gone. My cell phone's gone. There was a filmmaker from Australia, Kate. She found out after she got out of prison that someone had been using her Visa card to buy beer in Tel Aviv at vending machines. David Schmernhofer, I think his name is, he's from San Juan Islands in Washington State, quite near where I live in Victoria, BC. He got home and checked his AT&T bill, and his iPhone, which had been surrendered to the Israelis, had been used by somebody in Tel Aviv to make phone calls, and it turned up on his AT&T bill. It sounds petty, but it just adds to it. They're murderers, they're thieves. It's just most moral army in the world. Give me a break. It's just what more can they do? They executed people. I mean, there's nothing else to say as far as I'm concerned. They executed people on the deck, unarmed aid workers, middle-aged men. Carry on. Next question. I've said enough about that question. Well, I've heard it through the Israeli media that the Israeli authorities were bragging that they had sabotaged our ships, that they sabotaged specifically the Challenger 1, Challenger 2, which were from the Free Gaza movement, and then the Rachel Corrie, which was part of the Irish peace organizations. And like I say, the Israelis, maybe they're just being opportunists. Maybe it was just a fluke that these three ships, our two ships, Challenger 1 and 2, developed similar steering problems, which was very dangerous. Someone should follow up on this since the Israelis are bragging about it, because our ship almost sank. We lost our steering in the middle of somewhat of a storm off Cyprus and took such a beating that we actually split a seam and started to take on water, which is why we went and transferred to the Mavi Marmara on the open ocean. So yeah, that's what I've heard, is that the Israelis were bragging that they sabotaged the three ships, Challenger 1, 2, and the Rachel Corrie. The Rachel Corrie had to turn back. The Challenger 2 had to go into Cyprus and didn't join the flotilla. And Challenger 1 managed to nurse herself along and got boarded, but did try to get to Gaza. So, but that's what I've heard. No proof, but that's what I've heard from the Israelis themselves.